Have you ever been sitting in your favorite chair, sipping your morning coffee, when a thought slips into your mind that sounds something like, "Well, it's too late for me now"? It's funny how those little sentences sneak up on us. They sound innocent at first, harmless. But before long, they start shaping how we see the world, and not always for the better. I was talking to an old friend the other day, sharp as a tack, full of stories, kind of fellow you could talk to for hours. He said something that stuck with me. He leaned in and whispered, like it was a secret. "You know, the older I get, the more I realize that wisdom isn't about what you know. It's about what you no longer say." That got me thinking. The words we choose, especially in our later years, carry a special kind of power. They're not just things we toss into the air. They shape our days. They shape how we feel about ourselves. And sometimes, without even realizing it, we hold ourselves back with a few quiet phrases that seem small but leave a big impact. That's what we're going to talk about today. In this video, we're going to explore 5 things. 5 simple but powerful phrases that wise people never say in their golden years. These are the kind of phrases that might sound familiar, maybe even comfortable. But over time, they can start to drain your energy, your joy, even your health. The good news is, once you spot them, you can let them go, and life feels a little lighter. So let's sit back, relax, and have a good, honest chat. And let's begin with one of the sneakiest phrases of all. You've probably heard this one before. Maybe even said it yourself during a tough moment. "I'm too old for that." Now, I understand. There are things we stop doing as we age. I'm not about to take up skydiving or start playing rugby. But that phrase, it doesn't really have anything to do with age. It's about limiting yourself before you even try. I once knew a man who started painting at 74. He'd never touched a paintbrush in his life. Thought it was too late. But his granddaughter begged him to come to her art class, and wouldn't you know it? He picked it up like he was born with it. A few years later, he had his first little gallery show. Nothing big, just a church hall. But you should have seen the look on his face. That's the thing. When you say, "I'm too old for that," what you're really saying is, "I'm not going to try." And that's where the trouble starts. Wisdom comes from knowing your body's limits, sure, but also knowing that curiosity doesn't retire. Joy doesn't retire. And your ability to try something new? That doesn't go away just because there are more candles on the cake. You're not too old to learn a new language. You're not too old to start dancing again. You're not too old to fall in love or to start that book you always wanted to write. What you are is experienced. You've seen enough of life to know what truly matters. And if something stirs a little excitement in you, don't shut it down with that tired old phrase. You've earned the freedom to explore it. Another one that creeps in, especially during those quiet evenings when the house is still and the memories feel louder than the present, is this: "Those were the best years of my life." Now, don't get me wrong. There's nothing wrong with nostalgia. There's something beautiful about sitting with old photo albums, remembering the sound of your children's laughter, or that summer trip that still makes you smile. Those memories are treasures. But the trouble comes when you start believing that the best is behind you. Here's something I've noticed about truly wise people. They don't get stuck in the rearview mirror. They appreciate the past, but they stay open to the beauty of now. They understand that the present isn't a shadow of the good old days. It's a gift that still has surprises left. I know a woman in her 80s, lives just down the road, who told me that some of the best moments of her life have happened in the last 5 years. And when I asked her why, she said, "Because now I've stopped rushing. I see things I never noticed before. The world's still blooming." Isn't that something? It's easy to fall into the trap of thinking our joy, our purpose, even our usefulness is behind us. But you're still here. You're still breathing. Which means the best could still be ahead. Maybe not in the same way, but in a deeper way, a more peaceful way, and sometimes even more joyful than you thought possible. If you let go of the idea that life has already peaked, you give yourself permission to enjoy what's happening right now. The grandkids' messy hugs, the quiet cup of tea in the morning sun, that neighbor who stops by just to check on you. You don't have to stop celebrating the past. Just don't let it become a cage. Now, all this leads to something else that I've noticed a lot of folks say, especially when they've been through some hard times. There's no point in trying anymore. This one can be dangerous. It usually shows up when we're tired, when our bodies ache in places that didn't used to, when friends have passed on, when routines change and the world feels faster than we want it to be. And I get it. Some days are heavier than others. Some mornings, it's hard just to get out of bed, let alone try anything new. But here's the quiet truth that wise people seem to hold on to. Trying isn't about success. It's about staying alive inside. Trying can be something as small as smiling at a stranger, picking up the phone and calling someone you haven't talked to in a while, taking a walk even when the couch is calling your name. It doesn't have to be grand. When you stop trying, what you're really doing is closing the door on possibility. And at any age, any possibility is what keeps our hearts beating with purpose. I remember a man in our community, 91 if you can believe it, who signed up for a writing group at the library. When I asked him why, he said, "Because I still have things to say, and I want to see if I can say them better." That's what trying looks like. Not giving up, even when it would be easier to. You're not done yet. You still have value. You still matter. Even on the days when you feel invisible. Even when the world feels like it's moving past you. So take the walk. Make the call. Start the poem. Try the recipe. Learn the phone. Whatever it is, keep trying. Because every single day you wake up is another chance to surprise yourself. And that, my friend, is something truly wise people never forget. Now, with all that said, let's keep this conversation going. We've already uncovered some phrases that can quietly shape our golden years in the wrong direction. Phrases we do well to leave behind. But there are still more that deserve a closer look. So far, we've talked about the quiet power of the things we don't say. Letting go of phrases like, "I'm too old for that," or "those were the best years of my life," can gently shift how we experience each day. And choosing not to say, "There's no point in trying anymore," keeps us connected to the part of us that's still reaching, still growing, even now. But there's another phrase I hear far too often, and it's this one. "That's just how I am." Now, this one's tricky. It sounds innocent enough, maybe even confident. It often shows up when someone's explaining a habit they've had for years. Maybe it's impatience, or being quick to judge, or always expecting the worst. You'll hear, "Well, I've always been like this. That's just how I am." But you see, that phrase doesn't just describe a person, it locks them in. At this stage of life, it's easy to feel like all the shaping has already been done, like the clay has hardened. But here's something that wise people understand. You're not finished yet. Yes, your roots go deep. Yes, you've built a life based on certain values and beliefs. But there's still room to stretch. Still time to soften in places, to surprise yourself in others. The people who stay vibrant in their golden years are often the ones who stay willing to grow. I met a gentleman a few years ago, stubborn as a mule by his own admission. He told me he used to be short-tempered, especially with his family, quick to shut people down. But after his wife passed, something shifted. He said, "I realized I didn't want my grandchildren to remember me as the old man who always barked at them." So he started listening more, smiling more, slowing down in conversations. You could see the change in his eyes, softer, kinder. He never once said, "That's just how I am." Instead, he asked, "Who do I still want to be?" That's a powerful question. And it doesn't matter whether you're 60 or 90, you can still become better, wiser, more generous, more forgiving. You can still challenge your old patterns. It's never about changing who you are at the core. It's about peeling back what no longer serves you. Every year we live gives us the chance to become more ourselves, not less. So be careful with that phrase. Because the minute you say, "That's just how I am," you might be closing a door that doesn't need to be closed. Now let's talk about one final phrase that, to be honest, breaks my heart every time I hear it. It usually slips out during quiet moments, sometimes with a shrug, sometimes with a little laugh, like it doesn't matter. But it does matter. Nobody needs me anymore. That one hits deep, and I understand why it shows up. Maybe the kids are grown and busy with their own families. Maybe the job that once gave you a sense of purpose is long behind you. Maybe friends have moved away or passed on. The calendar isn't as full as it once was. The phone doesn't ring like it used to, and you begin to wonder, am I still needed? Let me tell you something. Wise people don't measure their worth by how busy they are. They know that being needed isn't about doing the laundry or paying the bills or being the one everyone leans on. It's about presence, kindness, wisdom. It's about what you bring into a room just by being there. You may not be needed in the same way you were before, but that doesn't mean you're not needed at all. I once saw a woman at a park sitting quietly on a bench, watching her great-grandson toddle around. She wasn't chasing him. She wasn't barking instructions. She was simply there, smiling. And you could see the little boy glance back at her now and then, looking for that familiar face, that calm reassurance. She was needed in that moment, not because she was doing something, but because of who she was. You have a presence that matters, a story that matters, a voice that carries the weight of experience. There are people, whether they say it or not, who feel more grounded just because you exist in their life. And even beyond your circle, the world still needs you. Maybe you'll mentor someone younger. Maybe you'll share your stories at a local community center. Maybe you'll teach someone how to bake your famous cornbread, or show them how to fix a broken fence the old-fashioned way. You have something to offer. You are needed, not for what you used to do, but for who you are now. Don't let the silence fool you. Your presence still ripples outward in ways you may never fully see. So when that old voice whispers, "Nobody needs me anymore," I hope you remember this. You're not done giving, and the world is better because you're in it. Now, maybe all of this has stirred something in you. Maybe it's reminded you of things you've said to yourself over the years, some of them out loud, some only in your head. And that's okay. We've all been there. The good news is, we can choose what words we carry forward. We can let go of the ones that weigh us down, and we can lean into the ones that lift us up. Because even in your golden years, especially in your golden years, You deserve to feel strong, hopeful, and alive. So let's keep talking. Let's keep growing. And let's keep walking this road with our heads held high. After all, wisdom isn't just about knowing what to say. Sometimes it's about knowing what not to say and having the quiet strength to leave those old phrases behind. You've made it here with me, and that says something already. It says you're curious. You care about how you live these later years, not just how long they are, but how deep, how full, how meaningful they can be. And I think that's the greatest strength of this season of life. There's room now for reflection, for choosing your words and your thoughts more carefully, more lovingly. We've talked about letting go of phrases like, "I'm too old for that." "Those were the best years of my life," or "Nobody needs me anymore." They're the kind of quiet sentences that can take root if we're not careful. And wise people, as we've seen, simply stop feeding them. But I want to end with one last phrase. Maybe the quietest of them all. One that rarely makes a scene. It often hides behind politeness, behind routine, behind that sense of, well, this is just how life is now. It sounds like this: "I'm fine." Now, before you shake your head and say, "But what's wrong with that?" hear me out. There's nothing wrong with being okay. There's nothing wrong with peace, contentment, or a quiet life. But too often, "I'm fine" doesn't mean contentment. It means resignation. It means settling. When someone asks, "How are you?" and you say, "I'm fine," but deep down you feel invisible or bored or lonely, that's not fine. That's a slow kind of sadness, the kind that doesn't always get spoken out loud. Wise people eventually recognize that "I'm fine" can be a mask, and in their quiet strength, they choose to take the mask off. You see, it takes real courage to say, "I could use a little more connection in my life," or "I'm not sure what I'm looking forward to these days," or even, "I feel a bit forgotten." Those are brave words, and you deserve to speak them. This stage of life is not meant to be dull or gray or quietly endured. It's meant to be rich. Gentle, yes, but full of meaning. There's joy to be found in ordinary moments. There's laughter still waiting in corners you haven't looked in a while. There's companionship, maybe not always in the same faces as before, but still out there, still possible. I once spoke with a woman in her 70s who told me she'd gone nearly a year without anyone hugging her. Can you imagine that? So she started volunteering at a local animal shelter just to hold something warm, to feel needed. Within a few weeks, her smile looked different, brighter, more alive. Not because life had suddenly changed, but because she had taken one small step away from "I'm fine" and toward something better. That's what I want for you. I want you to wake up in the morning and feel something stirring inside. A reason to put on a nicer shirt, to take a short walk, to call someone, to sing along with a song in the kitchen while you make your tea. It doesn't have to be grand. It doesn't have to be loud. But it should feel like living. If "I'm fine" is all you've been saying lately, pause. Ask yourself, am I really? Or have I just gotten used to quiet disappointment? You have more years behind you than ahead, yes. But that doesn't mean the ones ahead don't count just as much, maybe even more. You've learned how to survive. You've worked hard, you've raised people, helped others, held it together. But now, it's time to thrive. Even in small ways. Maybe that means opening yourself up to new friendships, even when it feels uncomfortable. Maybe it means trying a different way to move your body. Slow dancing in the kitchen or stretching by the window while the sun comes in. Maybe it means talking about grief you've been carrying too quietly for too long. Maybe it means telling someone, "Actually, I'm not fine. I'd love to go out for lunch," or sit on the porch and just talk. These aren't weaknesses. These are acts of courage. Small, quiet rebellions against the idea that getting older means getting smaller. Because you, my friend, are not small. You're still learning. You're still shaping the story of your life, even now. Especially now. And here's the beautiful part. When you stop saying things that shrink you, you start making space for the things that grow you. Peace, wonder, laughter, maybe even love again. Imagine that. Finding something new to love at this point in your life. A craft, a person, a place, a part of yourself you'd long forgotten. Wisdom isn't about pretending everything's perfect. It's not about wearing a brave face just because the world expects you to. Wisdom is about choosing words that open your life up, that invite connection, joy, and depth, rather than closing the door on possibility. So let me ask you, as we come to the end of this little talk, what have you stopped yourself from saying? What dream did you tuck away because it felt too late? What moment of connection did you miss because you said, "I'm fine," when you really weren't? It's not too late. Truly, it isn't. Even now you can write a new page. Even now you can become someone you're proud of. Even now you can wake up tomorrow with a little more excitement than yesterday. And if you take nothing else away from this video, I hope you take this. You are still needed, you are still growing, and you are not alone. So, if anything we talked about today resonates with you, leave a comment down below. Share something you've let go of recently, or something you're hoping to embrace. I promise, someone else will read it and feel encouraged too. If you enjoyed this little moment we've shared, give the video a like. It helps others find it. And if you'd like to join this growing community of thoughtful, wise folks just like you, hit that subscribe button so you won't miss the next conversation we have. Thank you for spending this time with me. I know you could have been anywhere else, but you chose to be here, and that means a lot. Until next time, take care of your words. They shape your days more than you know. Speak kindly to yourself. Speak gently to others. And may you live life to the fullest at every age.